The influence of tabletop games on modern video game design. Tabletop games, particularly board games and role-playing games, RPGs, have had a profound impact on the development of modern video games. These games have provided inspiration for mechanics, narrative depth, and player interaction that continue to shape the video gaming industry today. 1. Turn-based mechanics. One of the most obvious influences of tabletop games is the use of turn-based mechanics. Board games like chess and Risk have paved the way for turn-based strategy video games, such as XCOM and Civilization. In these games, players take calculated turns, mirroring the slow, thoughtful pace of classic tabletop gameplay. 2. Dice rolling systems. The randomness and chance associated with dice rolling in tabletop RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons, D&D, have also translated into video game mechanics. Many RPGs, such as Baldur's Gate and Divinity: Original Sin, incorporate dice-based calculations for combat outcomes and skill checks, providing an element of unpredictability and strategy, just like their tabletop counterparts. 3. Complex narratives and world building. Tabletop RPGs often emphasize storytelling and world building, where players and game masters collaboratively create intricate worlds and deep character arcs. This narrative focus has influenced video games like the Witcher series and Mass Effect, where choices matter, and expansive lore creates immersive worlds. The impact of tabletop RPG storytelling has shaped the way video games approach character development and branching storylines. 4. Character customization and progression. The concept of leveling up and character customization, which originated in games like Dungeons & Dragons, remains foundational in modern video games. RPGs like Skyrim and Fallout use experience points, skill trees, and customizable abilities to allow players to develop unique characters, just as they would in tabletop games. 5. Cooperative and competitive play. Tabletop games foster cooperative and competitive interaction between players, a concept that has translated well into multiplayer video games. Board games like Catan and Carcassonne inspired the design of strategy-based video games that focus on teamwork and competition. Similarly, many online multiplayer games, from Fortnite to League of Legends, draw on the same sense of camaraderie and competition seen in tabletop play. 6. Modding and user-created content. In the same way that tabletop players can create custom rules and scenarios, modern video games encourage player creativity through modding. Games like Minecraft and Skyrim allow players to create their own content, expanding the gameplay experience much like tabletop RPG players can modify campaigns and stories. 7. Resource management. Resource management, a staple of many board games, has made its way into genres like real-time strategy, RTS, and simulation games. Titles such as Stardew Valley and Age of Empires draw on resource collection and allocation mechanics, mirroring board games where players must strategically manage their assets to achieve victory. 8. Social interaction and role-playing. Tabletop games encourage social interaction and collaborative storytelling, which has translated into online role-playing games, RPGs, like World of Warcraft. The focus on player interaction and the creation of shared experiences is a hallmark of both tabletop and video games, fostering strong community ties and long-lasting player engagement. 9. Procedural generation. Some tabletop games involve random elements that affect the game environment or outcomes, which has inspired procedural generation in video games. Titles like Rogue and No Man's Sky use procedural generation to create dynamic worlds and experiences, ensuring that no two playthroughs are the same, much like a new session of a tabletop game. 10. Moral choices and ethical dilemmas. Tabletop RPGs often challenge players with moral choices, a feature that video games have adopted to enhance storytelling. Games like the Walking Dead series and The Witcher 3 give players tough decisions that affect the outcome of the story, reflecting the deep role-playing roots of tabletop games. In conclusion, the influence of tabletop games on video game design is undeniable. From mechanics like dice rolling and resource management to storytelling and cooperative gameplay, tabletop games have helped shape the way modern video games are designed and played.